2014 was a breakthrough year for us here on MedTalk. Not only did we chalk up 50 episodes on our way to our second anniversary, we were graced by some of the country's most distinguished medical experts as we sought solutions to common health problems plaguing the Filipino. Tonight, let's look back at the year that was with some of our most memorable episodes, tackling both the most fatal and the most common medical concerns in the country today. Have a happy and healthy Christmas, everyone. I'm Angel Jacob, and this is MedTalk, your weekly on-air health consultation here on 9TV. A stroke may come unexpected, and when it strikes, the result can be fatal. Usually referred to as a brain attack, 1 in every 6 people across the globe will experience a stroke in their lifetime. A stroke is usually sudden. Attacks from out of the blue can often be fatal.
Ang ibig sabihin ng stroke ay may biglaang pagkasira ng mga cells sa utak, no? So maaaring nabara yung daanan ng dugo, yung daanan ng dugo nagsusupply ng oxygen. Pag nabara yung daanan ng dugo, mamamatay yung cells.
Experts usually refer to it as a brain attack and is often blamed to the narrowing of arteries from an accumulation of cholesterol.
Biglang nabulol or kaya biglang namanhid or nanghina isang parte ng katawan or bigla na lang nahimatay, no, nawala ng malay or kaya severe headache or biglang pasuray-suray na yung lakad.
Based on Philippine health statistics, diseases of the heart have been identified as the #1 cause of deaths in the country since 1990. In fact, 167,000 Filipinos die from a heart attack and stroke each year.
So it can happen to anyone, even to you and me, no? So now, younger na yung mga na-stroke, maaari sinabi mo nga yung lifestyle, madaming bisyo ngayon, no? Sigarilyo, alak, even drugs, no? And also the stressful condition in our workplace, kailangan healthy lifestyle, tamang diet, exercise, kung may mga sakit kayo, halimbawa high blood, diabetic kayo, may mga ibang sakit pa, no? So i-maintain yung medicine, magkonsulta parati sa doctor, and then iwasan ang bisyo.
What exactly is the nature of a stroke? Ano bang nangyayari sa isang tao pag siya ay nagsasuffer ng stroke? Dr. June?
Yeah. Stroke is a brain attack. This is due to a disturbance in blood flow to the brain, resulting in different neurological deficit depending upon the parts of the brain that is affected. Now, stroke can be due to a blockage in the blood vessel, yung baradong ugat, or this could be due to a ruptured blood vessel. And depending again on the site, then patient can be disabled because of this illness. So this is an emergency that requires immediate treatment and immediate going into the hospital for proper care.
Yes,
May I
Dr.
add
Tina? Yes,
something?
please.
This is an example. This is like a model of the brain. And what we want to emphasize is the brain does not store anything. No, so wala siyang pagkukunan. So when a stroke happens, when the blood vessel gets blocked or pumutok, then there's no blood supply. So walang oxygen, walang glucose, and the brain cells die.
You mean that it doesn't store anything, unlike other parts of the body that store our fat,
Yes.
and that store liquids?
Yes.
This one does not store anything.
That's why the brain demands constant blood flow. And when a stroke occurs, doon nababara o natitigil yung pagdaloy ng dugo.
At pag nabara or natigil yung daloy ng dugo, this is, it can cause paralysis, it can
Yes.
cause different manifestations of yung pagbabara dun sa particular part of the
Parang
brain.
yung nasabi nga ni Tina, itong harap na to is for movement. So in a patient who develops a stroke on this right side of the brain, they develop a left-sided weakness. On this side, numbness. This will be for vision. This will be for balance. Dito yung paggalaw ng mata, dito yung hiwi ng mukha, dito yung paglunok at pagkahilo. So each part of the brain has special function. So depending on the blood vessel that was affected, yun yung manifestation ng stroke sa pasyente.
There are certain manifestations na na-mention nyo na parang heart attack din. What is the difference or the similarity of a stroke and the heart attack?
Una-una yung heart attack, it means ang naapektuhan is yung puso. Sa stroke, no, ang sinasabi natin is ang utak. It's atake rin, no, biglaan yung presentation, pero hindi ang puso, ang utak. Now, ang most common presentation ng pasyenteng may heart attack is pain. No? Pwedeng sumakit yung dibdib, biglang sakit na matindi, and yun nagpapadala sa kanila sa ospital. Sa stroke, pwedeng hindi pain. No? Pwedeng manhid ang isang parte ng katawan, pwedeng mahina, pwedeng bulol, pwedeng pagkabulag ng isang mata, o matinding sakit ng ulo. So, pwede rin may pain, pero depende nga no, kung anong part of the brain ang tatamaan. So, pwede silang magsabay, no, pero kung titingnan mo, iba yung atake. Yung isa atake sa puso, isa atake sa brain.
You mean sabay pwedeng mangyari at the same
Yes.
time sa isang individual?
Merong mga pasyente kami nakikita na sabay, no, nagka-atake sa puso, at the same time, nagka-atake rin sa brain.
Doon sa heart attack, karaniwan baradong ugat. Compared to that, sa brain natin, it could be barado, but it can also be a rupture of a blood vessel. So, hindi kasing madaling i-diagnose. Kaya dapat humarurot sa ospital. Yun ang sinasabi
So,
namin.
immediately talaga.
Immediate.
No? Which brings
Don't
us
lose time.
to understanding the different types of strokes. I understand there are 3 types. Let's start with the ischemic.
Actually, dalawa yung major. No?
okay.
Pero yung pangalawa, pwede pang hatiin. So, yung una yung tinatawag ng ischemic. Ischemia means kulang sa daloy ng dugo dahil sa bara.
Okay.
Yung isa, yung tinatawag nating hemorrhagic. Hemorrhage means blood. So, yung ugat, pumutok. No? At yung blood na dapat nasa loob ng vessel, kumakalat sa utak. At dalawa pa yung subtype nun. Kaya nagiging 3.
Okay.
So, yung isa, yung blood, pwedeng kumalat mismo dito sa brain.
Okay.
Ang tawag namin intracerebral, sa loob. Meron naman na pag pumutok, yung blood, kumakalat dito sa bases, sa baba, dito sa covering ng brain. Ang tinatawag namin doon, subarachnoid hemorrhage. Medyo magkaiba yung dahilan ng dalawang klaseng stroke na to.
Again, depending on kung saan pumutok yung
Again,
blood
yun
vessel
din.
na yun. And then the...
At iba-iba rin nga pala ang ating treatment depende sa type, ng
Type ng
stroke.
stroke.
Okay.
Kaya maselan talaga eh.
Oh, it's the most complex organ of the body, no?
I guess, ang mahirap intindihin ng brain,
Yeah.
pero unique din siya because you know that each part of the brain has a particular function. So, alam mo na merong isa na bahala nag-control sa isang part ng body. And as na masabi natin sa brain, yung capacity niya to learn and recover is talagang minsan magugulat ka na lang, no? Even for stroke patients na may have deficits, pag uwi, after some time, they recover. Because that's the capacity of the brain to recover and repair itself.
With immediate medical attention, no?
Ang outcome is also dependent on how fast patients are brought in the hospital.
So how fast patients are brought in the hospital, before bringing a patient to the hospital, we have to know the signs and the symptoms. So let's understand the signs and symptoms of ischemic, one who has had a
Siguro
ischemic
para sa
stroke.
stroke, for the lay people, we use yung acronym na FAST. F-A-S-T. F stands for face, tumingin sa salamin. If you see any facial asymmetry,
Niwe.
baka may ngiwi. Arm, you raise the arm. You see if one arm is going down, or you may do an arm roll. If one is not moving, then there might be weakness of one side. And then speech. Subukan mo bang salita? Tingnan mo, pakinggan ng iba. Kung hindi ka maintindihan, utal ka, then yung T, time. You have to rush to the hospital. May I add, rush to a hospital, dapat sana yung merong makaprovide ng proper stroke service.
These signs or these symptoms of one who's suffering a stroke can mimic other medical conditions such as Bell's palsy, yung paralysis in a certain area of the face and not able to speak, no? Or nagsaslur na.
There are conditions that affect the brain also. So the manifestations may look like a stroke. No? Ang common dyan, yung minention mo nga na Bell's palsy, but that's a nerve problem, not a brain problem. Now, ang pwedeng magmukhang stroke would be tumors, no? May mga bukol sa brain, or minsan pwede rin mga meningitis or infection sa brain. Pero ang something that unique sa stroke is yung biglaan.
Okay.
Yung suddenness ng presentation ng pasyente. Kasi yun yung dahil sa biglang pagbara or biglang pagputok ng ugat.
Okay. And yung biglaang pagbara o pagputok ng ugat, is it brought about by a medical condition that has been lingering in the patient?
Well, pag ganyan, dapat we have to understand the risk factors for stroke. Well, there are two major types. Yung iba, modifiable. Yung isa, non-modifiable. Yung mga modifiable, yung age, sex, minsan, yung pagka-race natin, a history of previous stroke. Then, wala tayong magagawa. These patients are really prone to another stroke or to a stroke. Now, ang mas importante siguro, each of us should know ano yung mga modifiable risk factors. Alam natin lahat yan, parang similar to heart disease kasi blood vessel yan. So, we talk about hypertension, diabetes, heart diseases, previous heart attack, o yung irregular heartbeat, mga lifestyle changes, di ba? Yan yung mga smoking, excessive alcohol, of course, yung cholesterol, pag tumataas ang ating cholesterol. Now, there are newer other risk factors like, of course, yung obesity, physical inactivity, and lately, even yung mga snoring. These are known risk factors that are associated with stroke. And if a patient or a subject knows that he has these risk factors, he has to cut down on this risk factor if he wants to avoid to have a stroke or do the proper management. So lifestyle changes and then management, medicines. So,
Who should one see, before we cut to a break, who should one see to monitor all these conditions so it doesn't lead to a stroke? Doc Tina?
If you look at the risk factors like hypertension, diabetes, mataas na cholesterol, this can be managed by general physicians. So, kaya yon. Important really is not just detecting na may problema, but making sure that these medical conditions are adequately controlled. Yun yung problema minsan, nagagamot, pero hindi naman kontrolado talaga. So, mataas pa rin yung blood pressure, mataas pa rin yung cholesterol. So, we need adequate control of risk factors.
Okay, so general physician, but
But siguro, I mean, depende, no? If you have cardiac conditions, then there may be some, siguro kung you want to go to a cardiologist, kung irregular ang heartbeat mo or meron kang congenital heart problems. But in general, no, the risk factors like hypertension, cholesterol can be managed by physicians.
After the break, we'll look back and discuss heart ailments anew. So stick around. We'll be back for more here on the Best of MedTalk 2014. Welcome back to the Best of MedTalk 2014. A look back on some of the most memorable moments in the show. This time, we'll revisit our episode on heart ailments to discuss the many ways on how we can make better food choices and other lifestyle decisions in an effort to keep our hearts healthy and running smoothly. It's touted as one of the deadliest killer diseases in the country today. Based on the recent data collected from the World Health Organization, roughly 17 million people succumb to cardiovascular diseases every year, making it one of the leading causes of death in the Philippines.
The most common heart ailment is coronary artery disease, which is basically an obstruction of the artery of the heart. We call it coronary arteries, and this is secondary to smoking, unhealthy diet, and lack of exercise.
In fact, according to the National Statistics Office, 5 out of 10 deaths in the country can be traced to cardiovascular causes.
So it's a silent epidemic right now. It is lumped under the category of the non-communicable diseases.
The good news, however, is that you have the ability to take charge of your life. For instance, good eating habits and lifestyle changes can add more years to your life.
Kung pattern kasi sa foreign, like sa US, di ba ang usually vegetables nila, broccoli, cauliflower, lettuce, cucumber. Sa atin, for Filipino, pang masa, pwede yun yung mga, kunyari, sinigang, maraming kangkong, eggplant. In general, ganito yung plate niya, half nung plate almost vegetable, and then 1/4 yung fruit. And then yung protein niya, and then supposedly nandito yung kanin. Ito yon, carbs. Tapos yung beverage.
It is very important. Ang lifestyle kasi yung pang-araw-araw mong ginagawa eh. Ngayon, doon sa pang-araw-araw mong ginagawa, medyo nabibilibid ka doon eh ng konti. Why? Because of your duties, let's say, as a physician or even physician, estudyante, in the workplace or community, hindi mo alam yung ginagawa mo nakakasama na pala sa health mo.
And since heart disease is a well-documented ailment, there are numerous support groups, research and information out there on why it happens and on how you can help yourself to prevent it.
Good evening.
It's Heart Health Month. It's
Yes.
Heart Month.
It's a heart month.
So it's time to get our hearts healthy. By getting our hearts healthy, let's first talk about what is the feeling of someone who has a healthy heart. What is it like to have a healthy heart?
I'll go first, Jonas.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Normally, we don't feel our heart. I would dread if anyone say, I can feel my heart pumping. Normally, we don't. So the moment we become conscious of our heart speaking to us through symptoms, that usually is a first sign that probably something is wrong. There are some symptoms that you actually have to be worried about. We were talking a while ago, like if, for example, on my daily activities, I walk from my house to my office and I don't feel anything. Then suddenly, for a past couple of days, I find that it's getting to be a little bit harder. I'm getting short of breath when I reach the office. Think, why is that so? Number two, as I mentioned, the heart doesn't talk to us. It pumps now as I'm talking. But if I can feel it pumping while I'm talking, maybe that's what we call palpitation. And that could be a sign that your heart has something going on. And of course, the most common but dreaded and most renowned symptom is paninikip, chest pain. So when you have chest pains, when you used not to have it, maybe you would wonder why. And those are some of the symptoms that you could have a heart. So a healthy heart is a heart that doesn't speak nor make itself felt.
Okay, so it's a silent heart, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yes, Dr.
allows
De Rosario.
it allows you to do a lot of things you wanted to do, primarily exercise, no? Because exercise intolerance is one of the main reasons why people will worry, oh, why am I short of breath? Why am I not being able to do this when I was much younger? So, and even in younger kids, parents bring patients to me, their children complaining of, they complain of shortness of breath, chest heaviness, pounding chest, so all of those things. So usually if your heart is really healthy, you can really push yourself in a way.
In pushing ourselves, how do we maintain the health and how do we maintain a strong heart? How do we do that?
Well, the primer, a while ago, Dr. Liachon mentioned it. There's nothing wrong with the formula of a healthy lifestyle. In order to maintain a healthy body, proper nutrition, proper exercise, maintaining your weight, avoid the vices. But of course, those are the most difficult things to do. Right, Jonas?
Yeah. Now, the heart is a muscle. Just like anything, it's a muscle, it's something that you also can train. So someone who is, let's say, eating right, but probably does not exercise, in a way, will not be the same as someone who is eating right and also try to push that hard to work a little bit. So it's a muscle, and so we have people who are, if you compare someone who is probably a triathlete, he definitely is more, he can really last running for kilometers or miles because his heart over time has really gotten bigger and more, really ready for that kind of stress. So there's also an element of trying to push this muscle to be able to withstand the stress.
So we've talked about pushing your heart, which is a muscle to withstand the stress. We've talked about a healthy heart, which is silent, doesn't really speak to us. But when we are not able to take care of our heart, it speaks to us already. Is that right, Dr. Garcia? And how does it speak to us? What are the signs and symptoms of the most common heart diseases?
As an adult cardiologist, probably I've already mentioned some of the signs and symptoms. One, chest pain. Chest discomfort is a proper word than pain. Sometimes there's a chest tightness that you feel, and it's unusual. Most of the patient I've asked will say it's really an unusual feeling, like air is caught inside your chest, and it just persists, and it waxes and wanes. And then later on, you will find that it becomes more prominent every day. Initially, it's once a week, then becomes twice a week, then later it's daily. And it is also affected by activity. The more activity you do, the more it comes out. And it's not alone. Sad to say, misery loves company. In this case, chest pain is also accompanied by that shortness of breath. And sometimes this is also accompanied by palpitation. And as mentioned by Jonas, exercise intolerance. Now, I cannot do the things I used to do. So the normal tendency of some people is that denial is very strong. I tend to cut down on the activities I do. If I feel chest pain when I walk, let's say a kilometer, I'll start stopping before that kilometer comes. Take my breath, then walk. Not knowing that is already a sign that something is going on. So that's maybe the reason why more often than not for adults, they go to the doctor when it's a little bit into the moderate intensity of pain already, rather than the early phase.
Rather than go as soon as they feel that there's something wrong. Is it the same case for children? Like their parents bring them?
Yeah, well, the children, they usually sometimes will also complain of chest pain. But luckily, mostly the chest pain in kids, it's not really due to heart disease. It's usually musculoskeletal pain. But of course, we also pay attention to this. Okay? In children, it's more of feeding difficulties, fast breathing. Parents will bring their kids, they're worried because their kids are not growing well, or their weights are really kind of like at a standstill. When you are the more complex heart diseases in children, and I think we're going to discuss it later, the ones with congenital heart defects totally have different signs and symptoms. But in terms of what they usually will volunteer, I mean, chest pain is still there, shortness of breath, especially the older ones, those who are in the adolescents who are almost adults. So they will be complaining pretty much the same way as the adults. We're also concerned about kids who pass out, especially when they are in the field, in the playing fields. Athletes who will suddenly collapse in the playing field. That's something that's a red flag that we actually have to investigate if they have a heart problem.
Having a heart problem when they pass out on the field, due to other factors, the heat, too much exertion?
That's right. So there are environmental or stress factors outside of what you have, but you take that into consideration, but at the same time you also have to make sure this athlete is actually safe, has a normal heart to be able to play.
And we speak of a normal heart, we speak of paninikip ng dibdib earlier. How do we distinguish a paninikip ng dibdib, chest pain, from heartburn?
That's pretty difficult, honestly, because the esophagus is right behind the heart. So the description I just gave a while ago, there's a reason it's called heartburn, because it simulates paninikip. It simulates like a heart attack symptom. So it's very difficult to differentiate. We would probably advise the moment you do feel that, don't test yourself. Go to a doctor, go to an expert, ask which one you're actually having, and they could run tests to make sure that you are not actually suffering from a heart attack.
Stay with us because after the break, we'll continue to revisit your favorite episodes for 2014 here on the best of MedTalk. Welcome back to the Best of MedTalk 2014. The liver is the largest gland of the human body and does so much to ensure our well-being. Yet most people take it for granted with poor everyday decisions such as smoking, heavy alcohol intake, and a fatty diet. This time, let's talk about liver cancer anew, the third leading cause of death in the Philippines, with 20 deaths recorded daily, according to the International Agency for Research on Cancer. It is one of the deadliest cancers in the world today. For every 100 people to be diagnosed with liver cancer, 95 of them will likely die due to the disease.
It has an incidence of something like 6,000 to 8,000 cases per year. And it is very fatal in the sense that almost all of them die within 6 to 8 months.
According to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, liver cancer is now the third leading cause of cancer deaths in the Philippines, with 20 deaths recorded daily.
Liver cancer is a type of malignancy in the liver. It has two kinds. One, the primary liver cancer. And then the other kind of liver cancer is called metastatic liver cancer. This is the cancer that spreads to the liver from other organs.
Most liver cancer cases are fatal, since it is often diagnosed at an advanced stage. It can usually be traced to infection from the hepatitis B virus, with symptoms such as fatigue, loss of weight and appetite, discoloration of the eyes, vomiting, and many others.
If ever they will develop symptoms, the most common is weight loss, followed by right upper abdominal discomfort, and then a palpable mass in the right upper abdomen or in the epigastric area, which is the middle portion of the upper abdomen. So those are the manifestations.
Other known risk factors include cirrhosis, or the formation of scar tissue in the liver, diabetes, obesity, and non-alcoholic liver disease.
Patient will develop a chronic liver disease, whatever the cause, and in the Philippines, the most common is chronic Hep B. The other chronic liver diseases that can lead ultimately to liver cancer are hepatitis C, fatty liver, alcoholic liver disease, and those metabolic liver disease that are not treated and subsequently develop liver cancer.
But liver cancer is highly preventable.
You should know the limits when it comes to alcohol drinking. Number two, as I mentioned, you have to avoid too much of oily and fatty foods. Develop the habit of exercising even just 3 times a week, especially if you're gaining weight, to prevent fatty liver. And then number 3, if you are exposed to patients or individuals who are at risk of hepatitis B, you have to be vaccinated. And number 4, of course, you have to check even just one every year or every 3 years, your liver function test and ultrasound.
September is Liver Cancer Awareness Month. And before we get into understanding and learning more about liver cancer, let's first educate us first on the function of our liver. Dr. De Villa, let's start with you.
Okay. The liver is the largest solid organ of the body. It's about 2% of one's body weight. So if you're a 60 kilogrammer, it will weigh about 1.2 kilograms, roughly. Mm-hmm. So the liver has many functions. It's a gland. It's a very big gland. Number one, it's a factory. It produces substances, proteins that the body needs for metabolism, like albumin, clotting factors, help in clotting blood. It detoxifies. It helps detoxify blood from harmful substances like alcohol, drugs. It produces bile as well, and bile is important in digestion of food, especially fat, breaking it down to substances that can be easily absorbed by the body. It's also a storage organ, for simple sugars, vitamins, and iron that can be used when the body needs them. Mm-hmm. And it also is important in the breakdown of ammonia into urea, which is important, again, in the metabolism of the body.
Mm-hmm. So many different functions of our liver. Yes. I didn't realize that it had all these functions, and maybe because we don't see it, you don't notice it, but it does so many wonderful things to our body to keep us healthy.
Yes.
And when we neglect our liver, it causes so many different types of illnesses, and one of the biggest
illness or disease that the liver can have is liver cancer.
That's correct. Yes.
So what causes liver cancer? Now we know the function of our liver. What causes liver cancer? Dr.
There are a lot
Fernando?
of causes, but most common is if you have chronic hepatitis B or chronic hepatitis C, chronic alcohol ingestion or heavy alcohol intake, if you have fatty liver, and other causes would be aflatoxins that you found in those that are in peanuts, in corns that were not properly stored, caused by a fungal Aspergillus flavus, something like that.
And these that you've mentioned are not genetic in any form. They are acquired.
It can be passed from a mother to a child if the mother has hepatitis B.
Okay, and briefly, how does one contact hepatitis B again and see?
So hepatitis B, you can get it from blood transfusions, primarily hepatitis C from infected needles.
And the alcohol, you mentioned alcohol abuse as well.
Yes. A heavy alcohol drinker is defined as an intake of alcohol of about 40 to 60 grams a day. And one simple drink is about 14 grams. So for females, they said about 3 drinks, 2 to 3, and for males about more, 3 to 4, something like that.
This is daily.
Yes.
Your daily alcohol intake will indeed take a toll on your liver. What happens to the liver? Let's take, for example, a heavy drinker. What happens to the liver? Does the liver have to work double time to be able to absorb the alcohol or excrete or eliminate the alcohol? Dr. De Villa?
Yes, alcohol is toxic to the liver. So if you drink too much, it can destroy the liver. So the liver is destroyed when there's an insult of whatever form, no? Maybe viral hepatitis, which is the most common here in the Philippines, hepatitis B especially, and then alcohol, as we mentioned. Fatty liver can also eventually lead to cirrhosis. So when the liver gets damaged, it's usually a slow kind of damage, hindi biglaan, although you can also have acute liver failure. But this type of damage we're talking about that predisposes to cancer is a slow damage that leads to fibrosis or scarring of the liver and eventually becomes cirrhosis. No? So a cirrhotic liver is one big scarred liver. So it becomes fibrotic, hard, and in that environment of abnormal cells and abnormal growth, that environment favors the growth of cancer. So that's what happens.
Okay, so you've mentioned cirrhosis is one form of the cancer.
No, it can cause the liver
cirrhosis.
cancer.
It can cause liver cancer. There are other factors that can cause liver cancer aside from cirrhosis. Would you like to mention?
Yes, we've mentioned it already, no? Too much fat can cause liver cancer, your hepatitis. But primarily it's caused by the chronic hepatitis B or C, because they can lead to cirrhosis of the liver. And that cirrhosis can damage your liver and eventually make you at risk for developing lung cancer.
Once one has been diagnosed or with liver cancer, how does the body function after being diagnosed with liver cancer? Dr. De Villa.
Oh, normally, unless you have a screening program where you detect them early, the most usual thing is that you detect them late,
Why is that? Why is it always detected at a later stage?
Yes, because the liver is big. It's a huge solid organ. So if the cancer is in the middle, you don't really feel it. But if it's like at the edge or it protrudes already, it's growing so big that it protrudes, then that's the time you begin to feel something. So it's very common here, especially in our country or maybe even in Asia, that when the symptoms start to appear, the cancer is usually at a rather advanced stage. Now, when people screen, when there are people who know their risk factors and they screen, or the doctors suggest or recommend screening or screen their patients, then the cancer is detected at an early stage when they are still small. And this is preferable because this is when we can still do something, when we can still treat the cancer.
So when you know that you're predisposed to liver cancer, then all the more you should be more vigilant and you
Yes,
should go for
correct.
screening.
Yes.
How,
That's right.
how often should the individual do screening once they know that they're predisposed to liver cancer?
It depends. If you're cirrhotic, you can do liver ultrasound combined with a blood test like an alpha-fetoprotein every 6 months.
So cirrhotic meaning you're prone?
Scarred.
You have cirrhosis.
You have
Your
cirrhosis.
cirrhosis, okay.
Scarred fibrosis of the liver with nodules. Depends on
Like
the degree of
what we saw on
cirrhosis.
the video, no?
Yeah.
So there are people who are more prone to cirrhosis, and there are others who have a different cause for liver cancer. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
It has been found now that patients with chronic hepatitis B, sometimes even if they do not have cirrhosis yet, but they have a long-standing infection already, they may develop this. And diabetes is now associated with development of liver cancer as well. We may see them even when they are not yet really, they do not have full-blown cirrhosis yet, but they may already have some fibrosis or scarring, parang may tama na yung liver. And then it's also associated with metabolic syndrome. These are the things that we see now associated with liver cancer.
You mentioned may tama na yung liver. So, on the outside, hindi naman mapapansin kung may tama na yung liver. It's upon consultation with a doctor, no? Briefly, the signs or the symptoms that will manifest once your liver is already scarred or damaged.
It depends actually. Initially, you don't have any symptoms, but later you can have abdominal pain, you can have weight loss, you don't feel like eating. At later stages, you can have ascites, meaning you have fluid in the abdomen, or you can be jaundiced, naninilaw at the later stage.
Patients normally complain of bloatedness, bloating, that they could not really explain, and then easy fatigue, they get tired easily, loss of appetite, as you said, and then their skin color changes. Eventually, they also develop yellowing of the eyes, and then non-specific abdominal pain, especially in the upper abdomen. They also somehow present with the symptoms of cirrhosis, because many times they also don't know they have cirrhosis, and on top of that cirrhosis, they have cancer. When they have abdominal enlargement already due to fluid or edema, worse symptom, then it's usually already advanced stage.
How long should these symptoms last? How long should you feel them before you consult your doctor?
Actually, it depends on the person. Some will be, even without symptoms, they really go to a doctor. Sometimes in the late stages that it has spread already to the other organs or to the bones or to the lungs. That's late stage already. So for people, we recommend, especially those with cirrhosis, they should consult for screening already. Like they can do a liver ultrasound or they can do blood exams to see if their liver is functioning, like SGPTs like that, or an alpha-fetoprotein, which are tumor markers that are common for liver cancers.
Those who are prone to liver cancer, aside from those we've mentioned earlier, are there other types of individuals who are more prone than others? Dr. Villa.
Well, as we said, we're talking about primary liver cancer here, right? That it originates from the liver. Basically, those who are prone are those who have chronic hepatitis B. And again, we go back to those who have cirrhosis. All people who have cirrhosis of any cause are those who are most prone to liver cancer. And then the diabetics, but not all of them. And then people who have fatty liver and what we call the metabolic syndrome. Yung hypertensive, obese, it's a conglomerate of symptoms that usually also lead to some damage in the liver.
We can't, we have to keep reminding everyone of these symptoms, these factors, no? Because we want them to remember all of these things and to be more mindful of how their body functions or if their body's not functioning well. Isn't that right, doctor?
Right, so if they have, some risk factors, they can be more vigilant and have themselves tested sooner.
And during these tests, what happens during these tests, Dr.
To
Fernando?
diagnose, you can do a CT scan or an MRI or just an ultrasound, and then you can do a biopsy of the liver. If, for example, the scans are not definite, but you have a mass, we can do a liver biopsy.
And by doing the liver biopsy, just in case it has a positive result that one has liver cancer,
So-
how do we move on from there?
So you have to know first if the mass is still resectable, meaning can they remove it? Is it an early stage that you can have an operation or a liver transplant or a radiofrequency ablation? It depends. So after, if you have detected the mass, you also check other organs if it has metastasized already, na kung kumalat na siya.
Don't change channels because we have more in store for you here on the Best of MedTalk 2014. Welcome back to the Best of MedTalk 2014. This time, let's talk about asthma, the third leading cause of hospitalization worldwide. In the Philippines, 10 million are currently suffering from asthma. Let's now identify the possible triggers again and see what we can do when asthma attacks. Asthma affects roughly 10.7 million Filipinos.
Well, if you look at the incidence of asthma, worldwide we have more than 230 million patients of asthma all over the world. And it's a common cause of hospitalizations, not only in children but also in adults. It's the third leading cause of hospitalizations worldwide, even here in the Philippines. Asthma is basically it's an inflammation of the airways. What happens is that there's bronchial reactivity, meaning yung daanan ng hangin mabilis lumiit, malikot siya, and at the same time it produces lots of phlegm.
While it is not always apparent on what causes asthma to occur, the most common trigger usually comes from physical activities, or what is referred to as exercise-induced asthma.
And also it can be triggered by food. The most common are seafoods, so especially shrimp, crabs, eggs can trigger, especially the white of the egg, peanuts, and then the skin of the chicken can trigger asthma. Chocolates, cold temperatures, cold drinks can trigger, processed foods, house dust mites. So these are the different triggers that can push a patient into developing an asthmatic attack.
If not treated, asthma can permanently narrow the airways and can easily translate to exposed nerve endings that will later on be even more susceptible to asthma triggers.
So what is asthma and what causes asthma?
Well, ang asthma po ay isang napaka-interesting disease by itself. Katulad doon ng sabi sa primer, lumiliit po yung daanan ng hangin, kaya nahihirapang pumasok at lumabas yung hangin. It is as simple as that. But ang concern lang ho minsan ho nagkakaroon ng triggers na pagka sobra ang liit ng daanan ng hangin o nahihirapan tayong ipasok yung daanan ng hangin, talagang nahihirapang huminga ang isang tao, bata o matanda.
So pag nahihirapan huminga ang isang tao, it hampers their life, no?
Siyempre
their health,
po.
'di ba?
Kasi yung oxygen, nahihirapan pumasok. Oxygen is quite vital. Day-to-day life natin, siya ho kailangan ng isang tao. So kung konti ang oxygen na pumapasok at meron hong byproduct ng metabolism na tinatawag nating carbon dioxide at hindi ho yun makalabas sa ating sistema, malalason ho tayo. That in itself, in a nutshell, is asthma.
And how does one develop asthma? What are the signs of one who has asthma or has developed asthma?
Ang pananaw ho ngayon, ang asthma is basically a genetic disease. Ito ho ay namamana kung inyong tatay o nanay higit na, meron hong tinatawag na asthma. So meron na tayong predisposition sa ganong klaseng sakit. Meron hong mga pag-aaral na ginagawa na kung meron hong mga viral infection na nangyayari during nung tayo ay maliit o sanggol at maaring makapagbigay ng problema sa tinatawag nating pagpapaliit na daanan ng hangin.
So, yes, go ahead, Doctor.
Yes, that itself is how we develop asthma. So, dapat napakatandaan natin na ang asthma is a genetic disease. So, hindi po yun totally nawawala sa atin. It's a misconception among people that it can be outgrown, but it's not correct. It's not correct. Minsan ho, natutulog yan at a certain age at only to come back at middle age.
So, the signs and symptoms of asthma, Doctor?
So, katulad ng nasabi kanina sa primer, lumiliit po yung daanan ng hangin. Pagka lumiliit ang daanan ng hangin, tayo ay nahihirapan. So, makikita natin ng ating mga pasyente o yung ating mga patients who are afflicted with such a disease, mabilis ang paghinga. That's one. And then, mapapansin nyo kung sobrang liit, nangingitim ang labi at saka mga kuko.
Okay. So does one who have these symptoms necessarily have asthma, or pwedeng iba ang sakit nila but the same symptoms?
Well, you're quite correct. Quite correct. Meron kasi mga sakit na nakaka-simulate. It can simulate asthma. One of them, in fact, is pneumonia. It's a common disease. But yung manifestations na yon are not specific for asthma alone.
So if the manifestations are not specific for asthma alone, how does the doctor diagnose? How do you, as a pediatric pulmonologist, diagnose someone who has these symptoms and who has asthma?
Ang pinaka clinical manifestation na dapat malaman nating lahat would be the presence of wheezing. Ito yung madalas na sinasabi ng mga tao na meron silang naririnig na parang kuting sa kanilang likod o pumipito. Yun by itself ay manifestation ng asthma. Pero gusto ko lang liwanagin sa ating mga manonood na hindi ho lahat ng pumipito o nagwi-whistle o nagwi-wheeze dahil sa asthma. But karamihan po noon dahil sa asthma. So, yun ang siguro ang sign na talagang ang isang pasyente ay nagkakaroon ng acute attack of asthma from the layman's standpoint.
So you mentioned acute attack of asthma. So what exactly is an acute attack? Aside from the wheezing, yung, diba? Parang ganyan ba ang wheezing?
Well, yung ginawa mo would be, you're quite correct, yung sound kasi yun naririnig natin, but yun paloob. Ang asthma palabas. So yung palabas yun ang asthma, hindi po paloob ang tunog. Of course, mandatory rin na masabi ko na yung karamihan ng mga pasyente na inaatake ng asthma should have cough. So dapat siya inuubo mas lalo sa gabi o madaling araw. Or kung ma-identify mo yung triggers, yun ang nagiging dahilan kung bakit sila nauubo. And then, pagkapapakinggan nyo sa likod, meron siyang pumipito.
Okay. So, at night and in the morning, normally, allergies attack in the morning and at night. Minsan po, hindi ba, doctor, like pollen, maybe you're allergic to pollen, and it happens in the morning or at night. So, may relation ba yan?
Well, in a sense, the answer is yes and no, actually. Ang dapat po nating tignan, yung daanan ng hangin, hindi lang po yung isang tube na rigid. No, it's not. It's not correct. Natutulog din ho yan, quote-unquote, na pagdating sa gabi, lumiliit sila talagang sadya, at pagdating ng araw, lumalaki din. So, siya flexible na lumiliit at lumalaki. Ngayon, kung isipin natin na pagka ang daanan ng hangin sadyang maliit sa gabi, at talagang lumiliit na sadya, normally ang ating airways, then ang ibig sabihin nun, lalong nagmamanifest sila sa gabi o madaling araw. It is not necessarily related sa pollen, but it may be associated with something inside the room. So, papaano po yan ang ibig sabihin? Kunyari, naka-carpet, your room is fully carpeted. Ano po, yung curtains, dahil merong dust, then that's the time you have this kind of a problem. Sila ang nagtitrigger ng asthma.
So, if you have asthma at you're exposed to all these elements that you mentioned, lalo siyang it will be on the rise, so to speak.
Well, yes. In a way, yes. The answer is yes. But it triggers it. You know, kung wala po itong triggers na yon, then naturally, yung asthma will not occur. The acute attack of asthma will not occur. There has to be a trigger for it to occur. Okay. So it may be external or internal stimulus. Ano ibig sabihin ng stimulus na internal? Pwede po kayong, kunyari, may mga asthmatics. And this is true among teenagers. Pagka, kunyari, kukuha ng exam, nadidepress sila, sobrang galit. May mga patients ho tayo na tuwing magkakaroon ho sila ng monthly period or pregnant sila, nakakapag-trigger ng acute attack of asthma. These are all internal stimuli or stimulus. This is in contrast to external stimulus. Meron kayong pollen, halimbawa, or dust, or yung mga pets, mas lalo yung mga sa aso o sa pusa, mga balahibo o mga feather, maari makapag-trigger ng acute attack of asthma. Meron din hong mga ibang sakit na maari makapag-trigger ng asthma. Ang good example ho niyan pagka meron tayong what we call allergic rhinitis. Ang rhinitis is just a medical term. Ang ibig lang sabihin, may sipon ng isang tao. But that's the one triggering it is an allergic stimulus. Pagka meron tayong allergic rhinitis, may chance na magkaroon tayo ng acute attack of asthma. One of the more commonly reported internal, this is an internal stimulus that can trigger an acute attack of asthma is GERD or gastroesophageal reflux disease. So, ang ibig lang po sabihin nun, yung normally, pag kumakain tayo, yung ating pagkain sa tiyan, dumediretso sa bituka. But ito ho, umaakyat. So, instead na siya ay dumediretso sa bituka, yung ating kinakain, umaakyat pabalik, pataas. At pagka yun po napunta sa ating part kung saan tayo humihinga, laryngeal area, papunta sa trachea, yung ating daanan ng hangin, it can trigger an acute attack of asthma.
These triggers that you mentioned, external and internal
stimuli,
stimuli are for those diagnosed with asthma already.
Yes.
But can you get asthma because of this external and internal stimuli
No.
na hindi ka naman na-diagnosed before or hindi galing sa childhood?
Hindi po. There has to be a genetically susceptible individual before you can develop it. Ngayon, meron hong always, that's the general rule, but meron hong mga certain exception. Like, meron hong mga pag-aaral na ginawa na pagka nagkaroon ka ng viral infection ng ikaw maliit at mas lalo at severe, it can lead to an asthma-like disease or condition.
So if you're a child and you had bronchitis, pwede bang mag-develop into asthma in adulthood?
Right. You're quite correct. The bronchitis here is just inflammation of the bronchus or bronchi. And the inflammation can be attributed to a previous insult. And if you say this is a previous insult secondary to a viral infection, then you may have these manifestations compatible with asthma. Ang tawag ko namin doon is asthma phenotype. Asthma phenotype meaning to say yung presentation niya is like asthma. Meron din kasi mga sakit na nangyari, kunyari, premature. Yung premature na baby, of course, na lumabas, nakakuha siya ng oxygen na hindi naman dapat yung lung niya na-damage, then it can lead to an asthma-like phenotype or clinical presentation.
And the classifications of asthma, mild, I understand there's mild, there's severe?
Dalawa po yung uri ng pagka-classify natin ng asthma. First is during an acute attack. Bakit kailangan po natin na ma-classify ang asthma in the first place? We need to classify this primarily for treatment purposes. Hindi lang mo sa doktor, kung hindi pati na rin sa ating mga pasyente. So, ang una natin titignan kung ang isang pasyente ay merong acute attack of asthma. During an acute episode, nahirapan mo siyang huminga, ang titignan lang mo kung mild, moderate, o severe. Bakit po kailangan na ganoon na i-classify? Dahil kung moderate to severe, higit na kung severe, kailangan na po natin siyang dalhin sa ospital para makapagbigay ng appropriate treatment and oxygen. So, kailangan na mo niya mag-oxygen para supplement, yung kanyang condition. Yung isang classification naman, yung recurrences ng attack. So, ang ibig sabihin, kung siya ay paulit-ulit, ang magic number is 2 weeks. Kung siya ho ay paulit-ulit na nagkakaroon, every 2 weeks nagkakaroon ng problema, higit na kung nakaka-impair siya ng 1, pagtulog, o pangalawa, ng daytime activities, then meron ho tayong karampatang kaukulang gamot na maaring maibigay. Ang tawag ho doon is persistent type of asthma. Every 2 weeks siyang nagkakaroon ng problema.
So, in every 2 weeks, kung nagkakaroon siya ng problema na ganyan, does he have to go or does she have to go to the hospital? Kailangan ba siyang bigyan ng oxygen
hindi
also?
naman,
Like yung acute?
No, hindi naman. But ang essence lang doon is you try to give medicines that will prevent recurrences of the attack. So that is basically the idea. And yun hong pagbigay ng medicine should come from a doctor because meron hong dalawang klase. Yung isa is inhaled steroids and the other one is Montelukast or leukotriene antagonist. These are 2 classes of drugs. And ang doktor ang siya magde-decide kung ano ang best for the individual.
And this has been MedTalk for 2014. Your scheduled on-air consultation here on 9TV. I'm Angel Jacob. Happy holidays to you and your family. Good night.
No, nawala ng malay or kaya severe headache or biglang pasuray-suray na yung lakad.
Based on Philippine health statistics, diseases of the heart have been identified as the #1 cause of deaths in the country since 1990. In fact, 167,000 Filipinos die from a heart attack and stroke each year.
So it can happen to anyone, even to you and me, no? So now, younger na yung mga na-stroke. Maari, sinabi mo nga yung lifestyle, madaming bisyo ngayon, no? Sigarilyo, alak, even drugs, no? And also the stressful condition in our workplace. Kailangan healthy lifestyle. Tamang diet, exercise, kung may mga sakit kayo, halimbawa high blood, diabetic kayo, may mga ibang sakit pa, no? So i-maintain yung medicine, magkonsulta parati sa doctor, and then iwasan ang bisyo.
What exactly is the nature of a stroke? Ano bang nangyayari sa isang tao pag siya ay nagsasuffer ng stroke? Dr. June?
Yeah. Stroke is a brain attack. This is
Doon nababara o natitigil yung pagdaloy ng dugo.
At pag nabara or natigil yung daloy ng dugo, this is, it can cause paralysis, it can cause different manifestations of yung pagbabara dun sa particular part of the brain.
Parang yung nasabi nga ni Tina, itong harap na to is for movement. So in a patient who develops a stroke on this right side of the brain, they develop a left-sided weakness. On this side, numbness. This will be for vision. This will be for balance. Dito yung paggalaw ng mata. Dito yung hiwi na mukha. Dito yung paglunok at pagkahilo. So each part of the brain has special function. So depending on the blood vessel that was affected, yun yung manifestation ng stroke sa pasyente.
There are certain manifestations na na-mention nyo na parang heart attack din. What is the difference or the similarity of a stroke and the heart attack?
Una-una yung heart attack, it means ang naapektuhan is yung puso. Sa stroke, ang sinasabi natin is ang utak.
2014 was a breakthrough year for us here on MedTalk. Not only did we chalk up 50 episodes on our way to our second anniversary, we were graced by some of the country's most distinguished medical experts as we sought solutions to common health problems plaguing the Filipino. Tonight, let's look back at the year that was with some of our most memorable episodes, tackling both the most fatal and the most common medical concerns in the country today. Have a happy and healthy Christmas, everyone. I'm Angel Jacob, and this is MedTalk, your weekly on-air health consultation here on 9TV. A stroke may come unexpected, and when it strikes, the result can be fatal. Usually referred to as a brain attack, 1 in every 6 people across the globe will experience a stroke in their lifetime. A stroke is usually sudden. Attacks from out of the blue can often be fatal.
Ang ibig sabihin ng stroke ay may biglaang pagkasira ng mga cells sa utak, no? So maaaring nabara yung daanan ng dugo, yung daanan ng dugo nagsusupply ng oxygen. Pag nabara yung daanan ng dugo, mamamatay yung cells.
Experts usually refer to it as a brain attack and is often blamed to the narrowing of arteries from an accumulation of cholesterol.
Biglang nabulol or kaya biglang namanhid or nanghina isang parte ng katawan or bigla na lang nahimatay.
Due to a disturbance in blood flow to the brain, resulting in different neurological deficit depending upon the parts of the brain that is affected. Now, stroke can be due to a blockage in the blood vessel, yung baradong ugat, or this could be due to a ruptured blood vessel. And depending again on the site, then patient can be disabled because of this illness. So this is an emergency that requires immediate treatment and immediate going into the hospital for proper care.
Yes, I
Dr.
add
Tina. Yes,
something?
please.
This is an example. This is like a model of the brain. And what we want to emphasize is the brain does not store anything. No, so wala siyang pagkukunan. So when a stroke happens, when the blood vessel gets blocked or pumutok, then there's no blood supply. So walang oxygen, walang glucose, and the brain cells die.
You mean that it doesn't store anything, unlike other parts of the body that store our fat,
Yes.
and that store liquids?
Yes.
This one does not store
Does not store anything. That's why the brain demands constant blood flow. And when a stroke occurs,